Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch, guys. It's RM here. I hope you all are well this morning. Another morning of Sunday Brunch. And wow, there's a lot of people here this morning. Good morning to Gary Banda Sandwich, who has a soccer ball for the football final, the World Cup final between Argentina and France. And I'm rooting for France. Gary, I hope you are well. Yeah. And Gary says 3 hours of Avatar was a big washout. LOL. Well, it's good to see you here this morning, Gary. It's always a pleasure to see you here on Sunday Brunch. And hello to Mario Lopez, who's here, who says, "Oh no, the show is going to air at the same time as the World Cup final." Is that true? You mean this show? Is the World Cup final on right now? And I didn't know it was on. I guess I could have changed the time, but it hadn't occurred to me to do that. Um, so thank you for letting me know. Mario, go watch the World Cup. And Gary says it may be all over by halftime. Who do you guys think is going to win? I'm kind of hoping it will be France. Sorry. I love France. Okay. Joe Tyson says, hello, Artem and Russ. Russ is not here yet. He's supposed to be here in a little while, guys. Right now it's just me. But good morning to you, Joe Tyson. So nice to see you. And of course, good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson. He says, good morning and welcome all. Well, good morning to you, Tom Jr. Jackson. I hope you are well this morning. Absolutely glad to see you. We are all goof people, my friend and collaborator. So I do appreciate that there. We also have Keely Chow. Keely Chow, who says, hey, everybody, good morning. Well, good morning to you, Keely Chow. I hope you are well this morning. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning or afternoon, wherever you are. And of course, good morning to Retro Nerd Girl, guys. How are you, Retro Nerd Girl? I hope you're well today. Guys, please check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. She does have a YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out, guys. And don't forget, tomorrow I will be having my Ladies of the PGS show on the Brrr Network at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Guys, do please check it out. Hopefully my travels tomorrow will not delay me from being on time tomorrow. And Mikey Lito is with us this morning. Hello, Mikey Lito. Mikey Lito says, good morning, and everyone, and happy holidays. Happy holidays, guys. It is the holiday season. I hope you guys are getting ready with your holiday decor and whatever you like to do to celebrate the holidays. And Tom Jr. Jackson has the link for Retro Nerd Girl's channel. And certainly do check out Retro Nerd Girl there. And also, guys, if you like what we do here on Positive Fandom, please do like and subscribe to the channel. So thank you, everybody who has done that so far. And I so appreciate it. All right, Mario, I hear you. Mario, you are rooting for Argentina, and Argentina is a fantastic team too. Certainly something to think about, the World Cup. Like I said before, I've never known it to be at this time of year, but I guess because it's in Qatar, it has to be at this time of year, or else it would be too hot to play in Qatar. So it certainly was a very different time to have the World Cup at, but let's see who wins. And Darth Plato says, Vive la France. Thank you, Darth Plato. Certainly something to think about. Dennis Mason, hi Dennis, says, I gave up on sports in 1968. Well, isn't that around the time that the British won the World Cup, I think? Oh, wow, already, Mario? I can't believe it. I can't believe Argentina is winning 1-0 already. Well, good for Argentina. Let's see how this turns out. Certainly a lot of excitement and a lot of attention on the cup right now, for that. Nathan says, hello, Artem, and Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you, Nathan, and hello. I hope you are well this morning. And of course, guys, make sure you subscribe to Mikey Lito's channel. What? I don't even believe it. What? 2-0? Wow, Mario, this is going by quick. How is all this happening? Did it just start now, or are they like in the second quarter or something? Anyway, let me know. 2-0. Wow. Maybe this is a sign. This might be a high scoring cup. I hope. I don't like the ones where they end up deciding. I don't like the one where they end up deciding that they're going to decide the cup via penalty kicks. I don't care for that. Hopefully, this one will be legitimate wins. So, Dennis Mason says, yes, Argentina versus England, 1982, the Falklands Games. Yes, yes. Certainly a great match there, Dennis. And so, welcome everybody to Sunday Brunch. I am so excited. This is this the last Sunday brunch before the holidays? I don't know because I think I have to look at the calendar. I have to look at the calendar in regards to when the next Sunday brunch is going to be. I don't know if I can do Sunday brunch on a Christmas day. I have to think about this because the next Sunday brunch does fall on Christmas morning. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a limited shorter one than normal. So it would be just a shorter Sunday brunch. And at least that way, if I do a shorter Sunday brunch, it won't be the entire Christmas morning, but just more of to wish people a happy Christmas and things of that nature. So it wouldn't be necessarily an entertainment packed Sunday brunch, just hoping that everybody has a very good Christmas holiday. So there is that. So yeah, Mario, I didn't know it was on minute 37. Wow. Okay. So that's quite a bit into the game. I didn't realize it was even on yet, but I am in a different time zone. So that might have an effect over what I know the time is. Where I'm at right now, it's 7:38 in the morning. Oh, thank you, Gary. I remember it being like the first half and then the second half, but yeah, uh, certainly something to think about. So, like I said, next Sunday brunch, I might just pop on for a little while and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. But it's not going to be super long Sunday brunch. I don't want to break Sunday brunch. I always want to have Sunday brunch. It might even be recorded, but I have to see what happens and how things play out. So I do want to mention that. But I have no choice but to mention the fact that I did see Andor with my mother. I did see Andor over the past week, and a lot of people have been talking about Andor Part 2. Andor, you hear me? Avatar. No worries, Gary. You can crack as many jokes as you want. Uh, Avatar is what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking of Andor. See, I'm thinking of Andor because the reason why I'm thinking of Andor is because I've been recording more parody Andor videos for Positive Fandom. And I have 7 of them, which I haven't even aired yet, but I'm going to air them over a certain period of time rather than release all of them. So I even was able to get outfits that look like it might be from Star Wars that I will be wearing. So I'm kind of excited about that. I don't think anybody else is very excited about that, but I am because I love the style and look of Andor. So that certainly was something that has been on my mind. But I did want to talk about Avatar Part 2. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Avatar Part 2 is because I took my mother to see it last week. And I think that there's some very interesting things in Avatar that I wasn't expecting to see. Now, we already know, it's the second part of this going to be an incredibly long series. And it's not just going to end with 2 movies. It's going to go on to several films. And I think that in general, the movie itself was appealing to many people. Now, it's true. Michaelito, I heard you yesterday. There are a lot of things in it that, a lot of people don't really care for. And I totally get that. And that's fine. I respect that too. There is no perfect film. But what I can say is that there are a lot of things in it that I enjoyed. And so for people who haven't seen Avatar Part 2, there really isn't anything out there that's like it. So what I was going to say is, let me see if I can do this. I may not be able to share the screen because I logged into Firefox and I shouldn't have done that. But what I was going to say is there's a lot of elements that I liked in it. No, I certainly am not gonna do OnlyFans. The costumes I'm talking about are the costumes in the television show Andor. So there was nothing like that in it. It's gonna be something that, it's gonna be something that has an Andor feel to it, kind of like what Mon Mothma was wearing, if you guys remember the type of clothing that she had, and also the type of stuff that Cleo was wearing, who is the shop girl for Luthen. I'm calling her a shop girl, but she's actually his partner in a sense. And thank you, Mike Alito, for saying you like the smoky voice. I'm trying to keep my voice down because my mother is in this room and she's sleeping. And I don't want to be too loud because sometimes if I get too excited, it scares her. And she'll go, "What happened? What happened?" And I'm like, "No, everything's fine, mom. Things are going to be okay." But she gets excited and she thinks that something's wrong, but it doesn't mean anything's wrong. And Retro Nerd Girl says, hearing such great reports on Avatar 2. Yeah, I have to tell you, Retro Nerd Girl, there were a lot of things that I didn't expect in Avatar 2. It certainly was a story that's told by motion. And most of the story is there's no talking. So that's one of the things that I liked about it, how hard and what an effort they made in order to make these scenes believable and relatable to people. A lot of it felt like if you could have the Abyss and the Titanic and Avatar rolled into one for me. I felt that was very clever because Cameron does seem to excel at aquatic style films, especially. And the expression, ever since he did The Abyss, certainly something that is spectacular. And the fact that this was all motion capture is also very interesting. There's so much more about Avatar 2 that I haven't even looked at because I wanted to be surprised when I went to go see the film. So I wanted to know as least amount about it as possible. I'm saying very little about it because I wanted to be surprised. I wanted to be blown away by it, and I was. I think they did such a great job with the Navi, especially. We learned a little bit about the Navi, and we learned a little bit more in Avatar 2. But to be honest with you, there's a lot more about the Navi that we don't understand. And I kind of alluded to that a few times in some other, uh, you know, shows and make comments about it. But it really is true. There's a lot of them about them that we don't understand. And one of the things that we don't understand is truly how they are actually communicating because they have this fiber optics way of communicating that looks spectacular. And, we don't have that. I wonder how different the world would be if we could have something like that. It's certainly something to think about. The second thing that I noticed is that they communicate with the animals and organisms around them. So they're able to connect with them in a different way. And I almost wonder if the reason why things worked out in Avatar 2 is because humans are now taking on the avatar of the Navi. How will that change them overall, let's say, going forward? Will this be something that people want to do? And since there's some kind of ability now to do it limitlessly, so to speak, will people just choose to be that forever? So it's something to think about. I can't even remember all the details about how Jake Sully was permanently a Navi. There's a little bit more about it, and I think that the technology has advanced. But now that the Navi were never technology free of, they understood technology, I think. And still, I really don't know all about them. And I almost wish there was more information about them. But Snortopupulus Burr says, hello, humans and other critters. Well, hello, Snortopupulus Q Burr. It's good to see you this morning on Sunday Brunch. Thank you for stopping by. Such a pleasure to see you. Says, hello, hello. Dennis Mason says the Navi have filed a complaint about cultural tree presentation. Well, something, it's very interesting. Their culture, we learned a little bit more about their culture, but apparently there's a lot of different cultures of the Navi. So there's a lot of stuff that we can explore. I still think that there's probably a space dwelling Navi where they travel in space. I have a feeling, at least that's my gut feeling about them, that we haven't seen yet. So presumably there could be many, many facets of the Navi going forward. And Nathan Trujillo says Avatar 2 is great. I love the Moby Dick references in the story. Yes, there were Moby Dick references. Certainly, it was spot on. Anybody who loves literature and loves Moby Dick would love this film. And I don't know about you, Nathan, but it was hard for me to see certain parts of the film that were very similar to Moby Dick in the sense of the painfulness of it all, but they didn't go overboard. I didn't feel like things went too far, but it was hard to watch certain elements. And one thing in particular, Nathan, I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. I actually covered my face because I didn't want to see them do something that they did. And there was no way around it. It was important. You needed to see some of the motivations as to why people were hunting certain things on Pandora, because Pandora is remarkable. And thank you for the correction, Dennis. You meant representation. Of course you did. Um, yes, they do have a soccer team, Darth Plato. In fact, we see them playing, I think we see them playing in Avatar Part 1, don't we? The Na'vi do actually play in Avatar Part 1. So that does exist. So they know what it is and they do play. But I don't know whether it's because we introduced it. Who knows? But honestly, Dennis says they do, and they're unbeaten. Yes, there is such a thing as a tail pass, Mikey Lito. Absolutely. And I think it's great that we can kind of joke and talk about this because of these creatures, the Navi, which I really don't understand everything about them. And they are constantly communicating with each other in ways that we don't know. Or fully are able to participate in. Tom Jr. Jackson says, yeah, it was such an emotional film and it was beautiful. A powerful message as well. I want to see Avatar 2 again. Yes, Tom, I feel the same way. There's a lot in the film that I know I missed, even though I watched it every single second. There really wasn't any major downtime in this film, and I think even when you got a chance to enjoy the beauty of what you were seeing, there was a lot of meaning in every scene. And that took a lot of planning. And it has been some years since we've seen something from Cameron like this. And so I can see how he put a lot of time into making this work. But from what I understand, and maybe someone could tell me that everybody did all the swimming in order to make this work, I really would like someone to tell me all the details about it. Certainly a powerful message in a number of ways, but they're not asking you to go out and become major activists. They wanted you to be entertained by it and enjoy the movie. I really love that they did that. And oh, Joe, that's a great idea, Joe. You said that you rewatched The Abyss last night, a favorite of yours. Joe, I love that film. I think many of us here love The Abyss. And you know something, Joe? I remember when I first saw that film, I had no idea that there were aliens, or not really aliens, but yeah, I guess they are aliens, that there were creatures that could do that in the film. I thought that they were going to discover something, but I had no idea that we were in for such a treat. Of course, everybody was, so impressed with those incredible facial expressions, in the water. And you realized that the creature that was communicating with the crew was not ordinary. He was trying to tell, it was trying to tell everybody what he was capable of. And who could not be impressed with the scene where, the guy goes down in the water because he wants to save everybody, and he knew it was a one-way trip to get that nuclear warhead. Who couldn't have been impressed with that? The creatures kind of made that open space so he could breathe, remember? It was so beautiful, and they saved everyone. That giant platform, I thought that was very creative. But that moment where they showed that they could wipe out everything on the planet was quite profound. And I think it spoke volumes. I think it showed that they have incredible restraint, but that they also don't want to do that. They want to preserve life as much as we do. And I think that certainly common ground was found there. Joe, I'm going to watch The Abyss since you brought that up. I probably should have marathoned quite a few of his films. There's one scene in that someone mentioned in Avatar 2, Joe, that reminded them of the Titanic. And for me, it was a certain scene. And I think we see a lot of these elements of his past films in there, but it doesn't feel overly it doesn't feel like he pulled it from that. It's just an element because it's similar, like you have these machines that you would find at sea, which are very typical. G Dog says hello. Well, hello to you, G Dog. You have a picture of the man who plays the most interesting man in the world. Are you? So that is interesting. Now, Dennis Mason says Mark Kermode ripped it in a very amusing way, but he and I differ. Okay. And Gary Bando says bluefishy, blue land-based people. Yes, yes, they are. Oh, okay. And okay, gotcha. Yes, you had it, your DVD. Tom Jr. Jackson says, The Abyss is a great film, but I hear a lot of people didn't have a good time filming it. But other than that, it is a great film. I always remember the scene with the mouse drawn and coming back. Yes, because I think, Tom, it had to do with how it was filmed. At least one of the complaints was it was filmed in this tank, and that there were certain parts where people were in gear and were not comfortable in the gear, almost feeling like they were going to pass out at times, from what I understand, from what I've read. And that's just some of the comments about the filming of The Abyss. It was not an easy shoot. It didn't look like an easy shoot. It didn't. It looked arduous. It looked like you would be cold all the time. I don't think all that water was heated. I think a lot of it was, very jarring, and certainly was physically demanding for the crew, the casting crew. So there is that. So yes, thanks, guys. Yes, why not? Why couldn't they be in space? Why couldn't they have spaceships?
Broke my leg.
No, you're fine, Mom. You're okay.
I just said something almost broke my leg.
No, nothing broke you. You're okay. Are you okay?
Yes, it's hurting.
All right, it's gonna be all right. See what I mean? See, if I talk too loud, my mother can hear if I'm in the same room with her, because where we're staying, we're in the same room. She can hear me, and then she'll say, "Oh, what did you say? Is everything fine?" So she gets a little, why not? Why not? Maybe in a different sense. Certainly, I think The Abyss was trying to tell us that they organize differently. And we only saw a fraction of that group. I mean, we only saw a few of them. Can you imagine what millions of them might be like, Darth Plato? All right. So, Bye for the Hobbit is here. Hello, Bye for the Hobbit. Bye for the Hobbit says, hello. Well, that sounds like you might be watching the World Cup, Bye for. I may be wrong, but yes, it's so great to see you this morning, Bye for. I hope you are well. Certainly. Dennis says the usual cynics are surprisingly silent on Avatar. Yeah, maybe. And something, guys, it's impossible to like everything out there. Even if something is good, it doesn't mean you're going to like it. And that just happens. That's just how life is. I don't know anybody who likes everything. So that is something to think about. And certainly the amount of effort that was put into Avatar, um, I don't know. Maybe it's on the same level as the amount of effort that was put into the Titanic for me. I felt like there was a tremendous amount of effort in that film, and it showed. And that's why it's going to be my favorite film of all time, of James Cameron's. But I think that maybe Avatar 2 had some other elements of beauty in it that I didn't see in the Titanic. Just a different, maybe perspective, a different way of looking at things. One thing I can say is that Avatar 2, anyone can watch. I think it's appropriate. I think children can watch it and understand it. And I was really blown away by the young fellow who plays, I think it's Spider. The young fellow who plays Spider, I can't remember his name just now, but he was impressive. And I wasn't expecting to see a character like that. His name is Jack Champion. I can't pull it up now because I logged in using Firefox, which I shouldn't have done. I should have logged in using Chrome. So let's just keep our fingers crossed here about what happens. But yeah, I logged in using Firefox, but Jack Champion plays a human child, and apparently in the story, it's not that big of a spoiler, and I didn't know this. Human babies cannot go into cryo sleep. Did you guys know that? Who knew that out there? I didn't know that. Jamin D is in the house. Hi, Jamin D. How are you today? I hope you are well. It is always great to see you, Jamin D. Sure hope you are well this morning. A huge supporter of the channel, Jamin. I do appreciate seeing you here this morning, and I hope you're well. Dennis Mason says alien means no human DNA. Extraterrestrial refers to humanoids with human DNA. Interesting. Well, thank you, Dennis. I'm totally messing that whole thing up. Um, so, since I don't know whether they have our DNA or not, do you know, Dennis? It's something to think about. Um, thank you, Dennis, for the clarification. Um, so, Tom Jr. Jackson says that he read somewhere that Cameron hinted that the Navi might come to Earth. That would be interesting. Well, you know something? There is a special. Isn't there a special about how it was made? I don't know whether I saw it advertised on Prime or something like that, and it's more about how the films were made. But I haven't watched that either. It would be interesting to see that. We need to see more stuff like that. And Mario Lopez says, "Hey, all the actors are all so great in The Abyss." Yes, yes. You've got Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, Michael Bean from Terminator and a bunch of other stuff. Ed Harris. It's really a great cast and crew who are on there. I love The Abyss. I think the relationship between the husband and wife is really great, and it shows. And some of the scenes in The Abyss, I think, push the limits of survival. There's one scene where they don't have enough oxygen to go from one unit to another. And, she asks her husband, and you guys, I'm sure, remember this. She says, the best solution is for me to pass out and for you to swim and pull me over to the rig. And this sounds insane. Like, this is an insane idea for me. I thought it was scary, very scary. Like, what if he couldn't resuscitate her back? Boy, that really got me. Yeah, so that was a very interesting scene, but I'm sure it's not recommended in a real life application, but it certainly was something shocking. Yeah, Darth Plato, that's exactly what I'm thinking of, a Navi Abyss crossover. Wow, wouldn't that be a way to tie Cameron's legacy together? Certainly, certainly something to think about. And G Doug says a few drinks makes me amazing. I think you don't even need them, because having that logo of the most interesting man in the world. Yes, Dennis does confirm this. That yes, people drowned on the set almost. It was very uncomfortable especially Ed Harris had a few very, very uncomfortable moments on while filming The Abyss. And, that's a somewhat more technical shoot for anyone going forward. And, and hello, Russ. How are you today?
Oh, good, thank you. How are you? Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. Just glad that you are here. Guys, Russ is here today with us. We were talking about Avatar Part 2, Russ.
hmm
Have you had a chance to see the film?
I have not. I've had rather a busy writing week this week, and Avatar is going to take a huge chunk of time out of that. So no, I've yet to see it. Did you go? Because you were going to go Thursday, you said, and then you didn't, and then you did, and then you weren't, and then you were.
Well, I was supposed to go to see Avatar at the AMC 16 in Burbank.
All right.
And I ended up rather seeing it in Cerritos, which is about 5 minutes from where I am.
Okay.
And I saw it at the first show that they had at the theater here. And the theater here is only showing Avatar. That's all they're showing.
Ooh.
So they've got 12, I think they have 12 theater screens.
hmm
So you can imagine how many opportunities there are to see this film, this 3-hour film. I mean, they're showing it constantly for the next week.
hmm
And I saw one of the first screenings of the film in 3D, guys. I do want to mention that if you see this film, you want to go see it in 3D. Now, interestingly enough, although I saw the film in 3D, um, what was weird about it was that not all the scenes were in 3D. So there was like some flat sequences. And I almost wondered to myself, why isn't that in 3D? I felt like the whole thing, maybe I'm wrong, maybe because it's almost 3 hours worth of film, that it was impossible demand to request that. But if you don't see it in 3D, you're going to miss a lot of the effects of it. I think this is one of those where you need to see it in 3D in the theater.
Mm.
So, well, Russ, how are you today?
I'm kind of happy. The weather has turned. It's now above freezing. It's been so cold here, and the energy prices are through the roof. Like they are through the roof. I think I spent £15 yesterday heating the house, which is nearly $20 just on a single day of trying to keep the house warm because it was like -4 or -5, and this house is quite cold. But now it's pissing down with rain. It's back to sort of like standard English winter. Yeah, I had to drop my daughter off. She's gone to a boxing party. They're having their Christmas party at the club. So her mum was supposed to do it, but her mum also had a Christmas party last night, and I think my ex is a little worse for the wear today. So I was kind of drafted in at the last minute to take Sam to her party. So apologies for that.
Well, no
And
worries here.
hello to everybody that said hello to me. That's Retro Nerd Girl shouting out, Mikey Leto, Stormtroopers. So hello, guys. And again, apologies for being late.
Well, we're just glad you're here, Russ. And certainly I was discussing with everybody that next week is Christmas Day. And, I'm like, well, I don't know whether we can do a 2-hour Sunday brunch, but I would be willing to say Merry Christmas to everybody. It's something you and I could discuss. But if anything, maybe we do something recorded to everybody and just play it. But I hate the thought of not having a Sunday brunch. And then I guess the Sunday after that is New Year's Eve. So, I mean, I don't even know how that would play, but it's something to think about. We can talk about it at a later date. But Russ, we're just glad that you are here as
Yeah,
you.
I'll have a sort of positive fandom alumni here on Christmas Day. I was talking to oh shit, what's Lance's podcast called?
Outcast
Outcast
Creative.
Creative. Yeah, so Lance and I were chatting, and he's like, "What are you doing Christmas?" And I'm doing fuck all, like because that's what I do every Christmas. My daughter spends it with Sal and her family, so we have Christmas Eve together on Christmas morning. Then Sam goes off, and I'm like, "I'm not doing anything, man. I'm just going to sit and eat pizza and watch Chuck Norris movies." So Lance is like, "Yeah, well, I'll come around and I'll watch Chuck Norris movies with you." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, let's do that." So I'll pick him up Christmas Day, and yeah, that's my Christmas. So yeah, I'm sure we could do something, but let's chat about it offline.
Yeah, well, first of all, what you have planned for Christmas sounds lovely. So I'm sure you guys are going to have a wonderful time. And it's certainly something to think about. And Russ, I had no idea that I had forgotten this show is on the same time as the World Cup. I had no idea. I feel terrible. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington, as well as Mario, reminded me. I knew it was Argentina versus France, but I had no idea. I mean, the first half is almost done. Who are you rooting for in the final, Russ?
I'm not rooting for anybody in the final. I mean, if I had to pick, it would be France. I think Argentina personify everything that's worst about soccer in the game. I cannot bear Argentina. I think that their contrivances and their diving and their cheating and their howling is just everything I detest about football, and it's personified in that one team. But I think that this World Cup has been outed as the most corrupt World Cup in terms of refereeing decisions. Frankly, it's a joke. I mean, what's it? Morocco sort of got through, but it was pretty obvious that FIFA wanted a France Argentina final, and so a France Argentina final it will be. And I would be very, very surprised if France pull this out. France are going to have to win this game like 25-1 or whatever to actually win the title because it's pretty clear that they want Messi to lift the trophy. So I suspect that's the way it's going to go.
Well, that is quite a
But don't
perspective.
hold back, Russ. Tell us what you really think.
That is quite a perspective. And, you guys know, I don't have necessarily an opinion on it other than I like the French team. But what I was going to say is that, yeah, it's at halftime, Russ. I can't even believe it. Nathan Trujillo, to add to our Avatar 2 talk, is saying that he thinks Avatar 2 will save the box office this holiday season.
Mm.
Russ, I have to tell you, after seeing Avatar Part 2, I was completely blown away just by the entertainment value of it all. And, I want to acknowledge the fact that last night, or at least yesterday, Mikey Lito was talking about how the story was exactly the same as
Mm.
Avatar, Part 1. And yeah, this is true. I certainly can't say no to that. Um, I loved the film though. It was really beautiful to watch for us. There were so many elegant parts to it, and I especially loved the importance of family that the film kind of focused on. And also,
Can almost see Vin Diesel's ghost nodding, his ghostly force figure nodding in approval at the mention of family there.
well, yes, and also, there was this young actor who plays a human, in the story. I have to be very careful about how I say this. He was an infant when, Avatar Part 1 occurred, and
Mm.
he's grown up on Pandora as a human, and he plays a character called Spider, and the actor's name is Jack Champion. And this young man has to play a human, but he lives amongst the Na'vi, kind of
Mm.
part
Mm.
of Jake Sully's family. And what's interesting about it, maybe he's not part of the family, but it seems like he's their cousin or something like that. What's interesting about it is that he ends up playing kind of a pivotal role in the story. There's a lot at stake for him. And, I just like that they had a human kind of along with them in parts of the story, existing as a human being and not as a Navi, because we have so many humans who've kind of crossed over to become the avatar Navi, if you will. They're avatar Navi, pseudo Navi. I don't even know what you call it. This person was a human, but now they're Navi, or they're actually human and they're just temporarily Navi, or, like there's all these different levels of trying to become this other creature. But Russ, what I loved about the whole thing really was that it was so beautifully done. I think that anyone can see this film, Russ, and enjoy it. And perhaps this might be, I could see how, from what we've seen from part 2, that there has to be more parts in it. But honestly, Russ, I think when you see it, you're going to love it. Really was not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, Russ, but it was so good. So I recommend it. And I can't wait for you to see it, to hear your thoughts about it, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I just don't think you can really fault James Cameron, whether you like the film that he's done. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Titanic, right? I wouldn't sit and watch it. When I have watched it, it's a genius movie, but it's not. No, it's not one I would put out of the drawer. So I'm looking forward to it. Um, yeah, I really am. But I was wondering, with this Jack Champion character, is he like the sort of audience eye view? Is he the sort of guy that you follow? So, you're looking at Pandora through his eyes, so you can sort of get grounded.
Um, well, that's really interesting that you should say that, Russ. And this was a question that I posed to Robert. And through no fault of his, I didn't actually get an answer, or really push for an answer from it, because I didn't even know how to approach it, because as far as I'm concerned, the first Avatar was through Jake Sully's eyes.
Mm,
That's in my opinion.
mhm.
Maybe it was also through Sigourney Weaver's eyes, but from my interpretation of the first Avatar, it was through Jake Sully. This one, I don't know whose eyes these are from. Maybe it is from that character, the spider character. Come to think of it, Russ. But I think once you see it, perhaps you'll be able to shed some light on that, because I really don't know, Russ. And I can't bring up a picture because I logged in through Firefox. I could probably log out and come back in through
No, I
Chrome.
think we have news, don't we, to talk about this week?
Yeah, yes, and I will get to that, Russ. I promise you. I promise. I do just want to show you a photo of this young kid, because I was so impressed with him, and I'm going to show. How am I going to show you the photo? I'm just going to. It's on my phone, and I apologize for for this kind of. This is the person. Oops, that's not him. This is him. If I can do it. Wait. Is this going to work? That's him.
All right. He looks like he could be in Steel Panther. Awesome.
Yeah, he's a young kid. He can't be more than 18 maybe. But the actor's name is Jack Champion, and I feel like he was the breakout actor of the film. I don't know how anybody else is approaching Avatar 2, but for me, he's the breakout actor. And Russ, I saw some incredibly touching moments in this film, and I'm always talking about how that we need to see more interactions between people that make sense. For example, there's a scene where the young kids in Jake Sully's family meet some other young kids in another family, and of course, there's some attraction. And I love that because that's natural. That's what happens in life, that people are attracted to one another. And we need to see more normalcy like that, these interactions that are natural for, young kids to be attracted to one another, to want to hang out, to kind of like, couple up or whatever it is. I thought it
Well,
was
I'm sure
really
plenty
touching.
of guys out there in the chat and on your various shows that are attracted to you are they're only human. You know what I'm saying? And your hair kind of like looking all sexy today, I'm noticing, and you got the bling on and the sexy top. I mean, I'm liking it, man. I'm just speaking for the guys in the chat. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just gonna call it out. Sounding a bit husky. Were you out late again last night? Is this the new RM I'm seeing every Sunday? I don't know, man. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, thank you, Russ. I love to hear that. That is so kind of you, and it is appreciated, and I love to hear that. So thank you very much.
It's only the
Um,
truth.
well, Russ, I think it's very interesting, and I do want to say good morning to Pirate Queen.
Oh,
Hi,
how there
Pirate.
she is. Hello.
Hope you were well as Random Rick Reviews, Triple R, or as I like to say, R. As Navi Steaks for everyone. Oh, R. Wow. And we also have Anthony Moose says
Oh,
hello and
hey,
have a great day. Well, same to you. I hope you were well out there. Some
Anthony
new
or
Moose.
Annoy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
and Anani.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Anani. I know I pronounced it,
Anoni. Yeah.
but we are glad to have you here and welcome, certainly, to being here on Sunday brunch. Rogue Thinker, I don't know if I said hello to you. Hello, Rogue Thinker. Hope you are well as well. Yeah, so there is a lot of news, Russ. I did just want to say about Avatar Part 2 and how much I enjoyed it. And also, Mike Lito mentioned one of the major criticisms was that it's the exact same story. It is, Mike Lito. You are right. So I do want to acknowledge you.
Is it the same is it like the same way, or is it like the same story as in Alien and Aliens are basically the same story and the same
Yes,
thing
it's
happens
the
in
same
Alien and
story
Aliens?
as an
Yeah.
Alien and Aliens. Yes,
So
that's
you
what it
wouldn't
is.
recognize it at once, but if you sort of take a step back, you can sort of see, oh, hang on a minute, there they are, there's a countdown and the thing's going to blow up, and all of that, all of those beats kind of happen in Alien and
Well,
Aliens as well.
well, there is a fight to defend Pandora,
Hmm.
but there is something that happens in Avatar 2 that didn't happen in the first Avatar, and it deals with that character Spider
Mm.
and the
Uh,
fact that babies cannot be put in cryosleep. So he had to stay on Pandora while all the other humans left Pandora after the first fight. And that also means, and so let's just say that his story continues in Avatar Part 2. So that's new.
I'm gonna have to watch
Um,
the first one again. I watched Avatar 1 in the worst possible way. I actually watched it on a screen about that big on the back of someone's chair on an aeroplane. You know what I mean? Like that's when I saw the first one. So perhaps I'll do a double sitting.
I think that they need to release both in 3D, 4K, or whatever they do. You
Mhm.
need to see it in 3D. Thank you, Random Rick Reviews says positive fandom greater than World Cup. Oh, that is that's so funny. I love you for saying that. We are happy to have you here. Random Rick Reviews, guys. And Random Rick Reviews, if you have a YouTube channel, let us know. Your name implies that you are a reviewer. So please let us see your link. here. Maybe Tom Jr. Jackson can go ahead and find that link for Random Rick Reviews. Pirate Queen says that someone said that Avatar 2 is the movie that you will see on every TV screen at Best Buy. Absolutely, Pirate Queen. We will see that. Do they have 3D TVs anymore, Russ? Do they
I
have
don't know
that?
if they do. I think they were a thing for a while, but I'm sure some people have them. I'm not sure. It's just too much PT though, isn't it? You know what I mean? Putting on a mask in your house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is a lot. I still have the glasses somewhere over here. I had them somewhere just laying around, and my mother wouldn't take hers off. So
Yeah.
so that's very funny. Now, there is some other news, and I'm just going to read. Yes, Mario, we are. And I'm going to get back to that, Mary. I'm just going to read Nathan's comment here that says, I think Avatar 2 had different story points than the first one. The relationship of fathers and sons. Yes, Nathan, we saw a lot of toxic male appreciation here, meaning I love when men defend their families. And we saw this time and time again, defending the importance of being a father, the importance of having a son, the importance of family, the importance of relationships. Certainly building relationships. What does it mean to be a father and a son? We did see Moby Dick and Treasure Island. Certainly something to think about. So there's a lot of classical literature references in this story. I particularly, as I said, was impressed with Jack Champion's character, Spider, because of a decision he has to make in the story. And even I was touched by this. I would even say maybe there's an element of do the right thing in this. But certainly something to think about going forward, and a movie that sets a good example for people of what, maybe what the repercussions are for the decisions you make and why. So there is that. All right. Yes, Russ, we have something to talk about. And hold on one second.
Okay.
Mom, are you okay?
He paid my son, my
I think Punk Treacy's here. Hello. Sorry, I'm going like that because I'm not wearing my
Yeah.
glasses.
Yeah,
So hello to
I
you.
apologize. Everybody, my mom was just got a little scared. Punk Tracy, yes, Russ, thank you. Says, hey, Russ and Arden. Hi. Hope you are well. Guys, yes, certainly. And yes, I do want to mention Random Rick Reviews does have a YouTube channel. Guys, check it out, Random Rick Reviews. Certainly do check that out, everybody. So Punk Tracy is here. Hey, Punk Tracy, how are you today? Welcome to Sunday Brunch. Darth, excuse me. Pardon me. I'm getting choked up. Darth Plato says, if the family is emphasized in Avatar 2, then it's a good thing. Yes. And Mario Lopez says he was disappointed when Avatar lost to the Hurt Locker. Interesting. Especially since it was his ex-wife, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be a little zinger, right? It's a little bit of a zinger.
Yeah, I think he had his defeat face on though, didn't he? He sort of clapped and everything like that. I don't think that they're at odds with each other. Those two, like they're a bit like Galan Hurd and himself. I don't think they're at odds at all. I just think it is what it is.
And thank you for understanding Dennis Mason and Mike Lito, who say don't apologize for mom's behavior. She just got a little scared. I want you guys to be frightened. Yes. Is like a cast member you never see on screen. It is true. She is, isn't she? Yeah, it's something to think about, Mario, going forward in regards to whether they should have different categories for best films and such. But yeah, it's something to think about. Now, Russ, this is the conversation that I knew we were going to have this conversation, Russ, but I didn't necessarily want to have this conversation, because if I have this conversation, then I have to acknowledge that what we're talking about has actually happened.
Yeah, I need a
And
fucking drink to talk about this. Let me tell you.
I am still, as I said,
clothes down, my clothes are up.
Are you okay?
My clothes are up, I told you.
Okay, I'm going to help you, okay? All right. Even my mother is upset about it.
It's thrown everybody for a loop, hasn't it?
I am in, like when they have stages of grieving, I am still in the denial phase. I'm in
Hmm.
denial. I've not accepted, even though Henry Cavill is the classiest, person on earth, and the way that he responded to this entire situation is certainly admirable. I have to say, I was very impressed. I'm always impressed with Henry Cavill. He's, just such a decent, amazing person. I still am in denial that he is not going to play. I can't even say it. That he's not going to be playing Superman. Oh, it's hard to say it, Russ. It's hard to say those words.
Yeah. Yeah. I was especially crushed uh, by this news
Please help
because
me.
of the lead up that we'd had to it. We'd had Black Adam, we'd had Cavill coming out and making an official announcement, and all of our conversations after that were around, well, who are they going to keep up? They're probably going to keep the Snyder cast and just go forward and tell stories because all of those actors are beloved. Everybody rates Ben Affleck, everybody rates Henry Cavill, everybody rates Gal Gadot. Say what you want about Miller. I mean, he could go or stay, but those three, the Trinity and Aquaman, were just so well cast, and everybody loved them. Shazam was pretty well cast. Harley Quinn, I'll talk about that in a minute. But then yeah, Retro No Girl, but it wasn't going to. I mean, the announcement had been made. And then on Twitter, like somebody tagged James Gunn and said, like the rumor is that you don't like Cavill. Care to comment on that? And he said, yeah, absolutely false. So there was like no indication. And then just what is this plan you're doing? And what the hell, dude? Like, you must have known. You must have known this weeks ago. Like, Superman's your priority, so you know what you're going to do with that character. So just he has been pretty good actually, sort of debunking rumors and things like that. And I do thank James Gunn for that. Like torpedoing all these scooper sites. I think that industry is finished. Certainly as far as DC goes, because now nobody believes anything unless it comes from him, and I think that's the way he wants it. Um, but yeah, it's just devastating, really, for nerds. The general audience won't give a fuck, and I think that's the thing that we've got to bear in mind. Um, it's just so disappointing. And I think it's, as Mario's saying here, right? I think it's a mistake. I can see why they've done it. I can see why, looking at the numbers and looking at the success of the films that these people have been in and so on and so forth, you can see I can understand the accounting reasons for doing it. Where I think this is a mistake is that it seems very much like, oh, we're going to have a hopeful Superman and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to recreate what Marvel did a decade ago in an environment where people have grown up and grown out of that. I've said before, I always thought, if Man of Steel landed in 2023 as opposed to 2013, it would be a billion-dollar movie, no doubt. And I think they're missing a trick here to actually go on with these characters and tell different stories with them that only those actors could do. Um, what, however, the DCEU has been a mess. They have kept Cavill on ice for a long time. Wonder Woman 1984 was although I liked it for what it was, tonally, continuity wise, what the hell was that? Like, after Wonder Woman, 2017 or 1917, which way you want to have it. Um, what the hell was that movie? Birds of Prey was kind of divisive and not very good. Suicide Squad, the first one, made money, but wasn't a hit with critics, and it was badly edited and all that stuff, because we know that there's the Aya cut in existence. And then the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's own thing, was a complete bomb in terms of actually making money. So you can sort of see why. And here's the thing with Black Adam, I went out and saw it, but not a hell of a lot of people went out and saw it, right? You know, I mean, The Rock saying it made money. We don't know if it made, but if it had made $1 billion, then this, or even $700 million, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is DC fans didn't turn out for it, and this is like a big problem, I think, for DC going forward, is that their hardcore is just not turning out. You know, they're happy to sit on the internet and complain about it, and you know, and there is a hardcore within the Snyderverse lot, and I saw it on. I remember saying to the one bloke, going, "There's no way I'm supporting this shit, even if Cavill's in it. You know, this is still a Hamadaverse film. It's going to be woke. It's going to be this." And I said, "Dude, if you don't go out and support this film, you are literally telling Warner Brothers we do not support these characters. We did not support the return of Henry Cavill. You've got to go and see it, and you've got to go and see it more than once. You have to." But didn't happen. It didn't happen. So now we're in a what will piss me off, actually, and what will probably stop me from, because I love DC, you know, I've always been a DC guy. What would probably stop me from supporting this as an active supporter, so there'd be no, you know, Dad and Sam going to the cinema on day one to watch the movie, is if James Gunn decides that he's gonna completely wipe the slate clean, get rid of Henry, get rid of Ben, get rid of Gal, recast Momoa as Lobo, but somehow the show starring his wife and the Suicide Squad are kept and everything else goes. That will be a massive, massive slap in the face to anybody that supported these films in the face of adversity. That would be like a real fuck you from James Gunn, and that would lose, from me at least, any goodwill that I've brought up towards him and what he's doing. Like, I get it. I can see that we need it. We need a clean slate. If that's the way we're going to go, fine. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's get rid of all of them, as painful as that is, and let's start again. But if you retain Peacemaker and you retain the Suicide Squad, then that says to me you're no better than Hamada, Sarnoff, and Emmerich, and who've come before you. And it's all about you, and it's all about your ego, and it's not about Superman, and it's not about the characters, and it's not about telling a great story. You, mate, are full of shit. That's kind of where I stand on it, and I won't support it, because we've had this promise of this is the greatest Superman ever, and I'm old enough to have seen Superman the movie in the cinema, and I'm saying from my perspective, my subjective point of view, Henry Cavill's more perfect than Christopher Reeves. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And to have that taken away, but you're going to keep John Cena as much as we love him, and Margot Robbie as much as we love her, and Idris Elba and all that, and yet it's like fuck off Henry and fuck off Gal Gadot, but I'm keeping these guys. No, that would be a shit sandwich that I would not be prepared to eat.
Yeah. Hello to Prince Tron Marcellus Maximus. Hi, welcome to Sunday Brunch. Says, if the fans would have financially supported the Henry Cavill DC films like fans supported Chris Evans and the Marvel films, Henry would still be Superman, which kind of coincides with what you said, Russ. And we also have Max, who says, oh my gosh, what are you guys eating? I'm eating a Milky Way. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't ever eat Milky Ways on the air, but I had no choice because of what we're talking about right now. And not only that, some of the comments that you guys have made,
I just wanted to address the one before. Henry Cavill's films did make money. If you actually look at it now in hindsight, Snyder's films made more money than anybody else's, right, in terms of actual profit. But they didn't make $1 billion, and that's what the people at DC wanted. They didn't. I think someone will probably say in the chat how much they made and so on and so forth. But they were profitable. They just didn't make $1 billion, and that's what the heads at Warner Brothers wanted and expected, not knowing that Marvel had built up to this. So people did support them, but then the critics came out for it because, you know, let's be honest, critics don't really like Zack Snyder, and this was at the heart of his Ayn Rand. You know, they were calling him some sort of pseudo Randian person and all that shit was coming out. Plus the studio interfered with Batman versus Superman. Plus the studio mandated all of the Doomsday shit. You know, it's not the story he wanted to tell, and that is a hill I will die on. But they didn't make $1 billion. So, and then it was like pure spite, as now come out about Henry Cavill, is that he asked for more money, and Emmerich turned around and goes, Henry Cavill is dead at Warner Brothers. Like literally, that quote has come out. It's been confirmed. So they had it in for Henry Cavill. It was The Rock that brought him back. But that's the one. That's the root cause there. Sorry, I forget who I was talking back to there. But it's the failure of Black Adam. I think is really the straw that broke the camel's back. In my view, it could be that James Gunn decided this all along, and he was always going to do this. But I don't know, man. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Well, Retro Nerd Girl says, we all knew it could happen, but now that it's here, it stings so much. Mario Lopez says, it's so disappointing. I think it's not a good idea to reboot everything.
I agree.
Gary says, they stole our dreams.
They did.
Darth Plato says, the Cavill news does seem incongruous compared to what we've been hearing up to that point. I can see how it all comes off as a cruel joke.
Dude, imagine what it's like being a Zachariah. Like literally, I was prepared to let that iteration of the story go, and I was like so happy. I thought, well, you know what? They're just gonna carry on with Henry, carry on with Gal. Maybe we'll get Ben. It will be awesome. Let's tell some new stories and keep these people for the next 10 years, all of which they could do. You know, you could end up with your Batman Beyond at the end of it, you know, because Ben would be sort of pushing 60 by then, I guess, or over 60 by then. But look at Stallone. He was running around doing the Expendables when he was in his 60s, and, you know, and Rocky and all that sort of stuff. These guys are fit. They can do it. But yeah, they did. It's just awful.
Gary goes on to say, kryptonited the Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Pirate Queen says, my reaction was the scene from Pretty Woman. Big mistake. Huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see, as I've said so many times on this podcast, you know, they say that the DC fandom is divided, and it's really not. Okay, there are people that just enjoy the fact that people that like Zack Snyder aren't getting what they want. There's this vindictive glee on Reddit and in Facebook. Ha 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 ha. You know, it's all of that. It's got nothing to do with the characters. It's like, I'm happy because you're unhappy, and I hate that because there's no sort of valid reason. Like, okay, Snyderverse finished. What's wrong with Henry Cavill? What's wrong with Ben Affleck? What's wrong with Jason Momoa? What's wrong with Gal Gadot? Like, keep going with those guys. But there's so much joy over the fact that these, like, it's like a 50-50 split on what I've seen on Reddit and so on and so forth. Like, lots of people are angry and lots of people are celebrating, but there's very little comment. There's very, very little comment about it's good for the universe and this is what we've needed. There are a few in there saying this is what we've needed. We needed this after Justice League 2017. I'd say, yeah, if you were going to do it, you should have done it in 2017 and just said, right, that's it. This was shit. We're going to start again. Fine. And maybe the Snyder Cut could have come out as a curio in 2021 like it did, and that would have been great. But the ship had already sailed on that.
And Mike Alito is telling us that Man of Steel, let's say worldwide, 667, which is a good chunk of change in 2013, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Jr. Jackson saying, I think Cavill was kind of used as a pawn for Black Adam. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Norwegian Kryptonian has joined us this morning.
Hello, mate.
Hi, how are you, Norwegian Kryptonian? You know, something that all of this brings to mind for me is, and thank you so much, Mikey Lito, Batman versus Superman, 800 million worldwide. That's a nice chunk of change. Justice League worldwide, 655, but Justice League also was like a huge, physical media seller.
Well, Zack Snyder's was. This one cost a lot of money to make it. I don't know what the production costs were on Joss Whedon's Justice League, because don't forget the whole film had been shot, and then the whole film was shot again. Most of it, yeah. And then it was another 70 million on top to do Zack Snyder's Justice League.
And certainly there were a lot of hands in the Justice League kerfuffle, if you will, because that's what it turned out to be. It was pure manipulation, taking advantage of a director. At least that's how I look at it. When at a very vulnerable moment in his life. And I'll never forget that. For as long as I live, I felt that we knew a lot. All of us ended up knowing a lot about what had happened in that situation. But what I do want to say is no one was upset to hear that Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman. There was no one who was like,
Everybody was overjoyed. Like, people were overjoyed, including Cavill himself.
mhm.
So there's just a sort of split, isn't there, between the 20% of people who make up fandom and then the general audience, right? So the general audience are just going to go and see a Superman film, and they're not going to really think too deeply about whether it matters in the continuity or whether it doesn't. But the general audience aren't the ones that go back and see it 10, 12, 15 times. The general audience aren't the ones that give it a second life in physical media. Keep watching it on streaming, buy the Blu-ray, buy the HD, buy the toy, the hot toys and all that shit. So those are the people that you really want to appeal to, because they'll be lifelong fans. So I'm saying this as a lifelong Superman fan. And it's like, oh, big wow, Rush, you're making such a huge threat. No, it's just like a personal thing. If James Gunn doesn't wipe the slate clean, then you've lost me. Yeah, I'll fucking watch it on streaming, whatever. And I hope it's great. I hope they do a brilliant job, and I hope the DC universe becomes everything that it could and should have been, and isn't divisive like Zack's take, and just trounces Marvel and becomes the next big thing for the next 20 years. Marvelous, great. But personally, fuck you. And that's kind of how I feel about it. You
Yeah.
what, you're going to get rid of everyone, you're going to keep, but you're going to keep your favorite toys. No, you clear the decks. If you clear the decks, I will be behind you. I will support you. I will buy the Blu-rays. I will buy the HDs. I will do all of that stuff that I would normally do. But if you are just playing favorites, not for me.
Of course, Gary asks if we were going to watch the new one. Of course, I'm going to watch the new one, but that's a question for what, 2 years from now when it comes out, because
Yeah,
they're not
most of
even
it, and
close.
this will all be forgotten by most people, right?
Mhm.
Not by
We're not
me, not by the Snyder not by the Snyder cultists, if you like. They won't forget this.
exactly. And I know Nathan was pointing out that Warner Brothers didn't say anything about him coming back, but I think for most of us, we can agree that Henry Cavill would not have announced that if he didn't already have
No,
something
he
more.
stated that on his tweet, he said the studio told me to come out and say this. So
So
it's an as official announcement as you can get.
yes.
So it
So
was via Warner Brothers, because you couldn't come out and say I'm back as Superman without their go ahead, right?
exactly. And also, the other thing too is, we've been kept in the dark for so many years,
Hmm.
since maybe not 2013, but it feels like in regards to another standalone Superman movie since 2013. So it's been almost 10 years, more or
Mm.
less. It'll be 10 years in
Yeah.
a few weeks. And the expectation has always been that there would be another one. So for us to have gone this long without a standalone Superman movie is ridiculous, since we had a working Superman. It's different if there was nobody who could play the role. It's different if they were looking for someone. But we had that person who had played the role. Is it 3 times, 4 times now? He's played it 4 times. He looks almost the same in Black Adam as he did in the other films.
Yeah, he does. But I mean,
I'm not
but
buying the "he's too old" look. I don't buy it, guys. I think it's a lie, and I think that they didn't wanna go with him. I don't believe that he's too old or that he looks too old. They could have done whatever they wanted to do these days. They can make, people look like children. It's a total lie what they're saying. They just don't wanna use Henry Cavill for some reason. That's
Well,
how
I
I
imagine it
feel.
has a lot. If that is true, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but let's hypothesize about that. I imagine that would have a lot to do with Gunn and Safran exerting control over the hierarchy of power at DC and kicking out The Rock, right? Because the hierarchy of power at DC is about to change. The Rock was clearly positioning himself as an in front of the camera and a behind the camera mover and shaker. Like, he was going to bring his star power to DC and want creative control and want to do things his way. And if you have Cavill, you have to have The Rock, and you have to have everything that comes with it, right? You have to have all of that. So you've got to have the Shazam, Black Adam, Superman, Black Adam, all of that stuff. So maybe if you are correct in your theory, there I would imagine it's not so much Cavill; it's more about not giving The Rock so much control.
Mhm. And to solve that problem, Darth Plato, is that they could film them all over the next 2 years, and it won't matter. That's what they've done with other films where they'll film the second and the third one at the same time. There's no reason why they can't do it. It is possible. He'll already be in the suit, for heaven's sakes. Go ahead and film 2 films at once. We know it's done. It's just do 2 films then.
Yeah, or
Um,
you can build up to Kingdom Come.
mhm.
Like, that was kind of like, James Gunn changing his Twitter picture to Kingdom Come, and you're thinking, oh great, so this is a 10-year plan, and this is how, they're all of a certain age. Like literally, they're building up to Kingdom Come. How awesome is that? Oh no, they're not. They're just telling another Superman origin story. Oh, it's not an origin story. He knows it. It's like literally, as soon as he announced it's a younger Superman, everyone's going, well, we've seen this. We've seen Superman Year One. We've seen Superman Year Two. It was done better in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman in the 90s. We've seen it. We've done it. We've seen young Superman in Smallville. We've seen this.
Mhm.
Nobody wants this. Nobody wants. Everybody wanted in the fandom wanted Cavill. Um,
Yes, and Nathan, to answer your question, we don't know whether that's true or not. Um, I don't know whether he did or didn't have a contract. And so that's certainly not what we're talking about here today. What we're talking about is the fact that he was going to be coming back as Superman, and the studios wanted him as Superman. And now they're saying they don't want him as Superman. Nathan, what do you think about that? He was told that he was coming back as Superman. Did you want to see him as Superman? It would be interesting to get your opinion on that, Nathan. It's pointless to go ahead and say whether someone did or didn't have a contract. Those are things we can never know. But what I am going to say is, did you want to see him back as Superman, or is there someone that you would like to see as Superman, Nathan? Let us know, Nathan. Blared, am I saying this right? Blared Dad Life.
hello, Blair Dad Life.
Cavill was treated poorly, and it's frustrating. He was a great Superman. The issue was the quality of the storytelling. Definitely.
I'd
That's
argue that the difference is your opinion on the quality of that storytelling. I thought that those takes were excellent. There
Mhm.
was nothing wrong with those stories. They were brilliant. They were
I
just
thought
great.
I thought that immediately they should have made a second movie after they did Man of Steel.
Yeah,
There should have
but
been
the
a film
but
immediately.
this is a
And let's be
classic case of.
honest.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I'm sorry. Let's be honest. Cavill has not been treated well in this entire situation.
No,
I
he has
mean,
not.
just between you and I, guys, I think he should have been front and foremost the star in all of this. I think the focus went more onto Wonder Woman, and that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, he was kind of ignored and put on the sidelines. I don't know how you feel about it, Russ, but that's how I'm
I
looking
just
at
think
it.
it's a classic case of studio mismanagement. It just is. It's just literally idiots in control of a property that they clearly don't understand. Like I've said a million times on this show, these people bought into Zack Snyder's vision. He didn't go to them and say, "Oh, I can't. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but give us $100 million and it'll be all right, Jack." No, he laid out his arc, his plan, his 5-movie plan. This is what we're going to do, and they said, "Great, let's do that." And then the first film didn't make $1 billion, and they're looking at Iron Man, go, "Well, why aren't we making $1 billion?" Well, because we have to build up to that. Would be the answer. So his plan was never to do Batman versus Superman. That was down the road, right? He was going to do Superman 2 first. If you see the interviews with Zack Snyder at the time, he's going, no, look, it all starts with Superman. Like, we've got to build Superman first, and then we'll go on to everything else. Go back to those interviews back in 2013. That's what he was saying. Um,
Yes, and also the other thing to think about is the fact that at the end of Peacemaker, they wanted him to appear, but they were still working out a contract situation or a payment or whatever it was.
yeah,
From what
because
they were
Toby Emmerich didn't want to fucking pay the man,
He
pay him
didn't
his
want to pay
money.
him the money, and he would presumably be one of the highest paid superhero actors. I don't know how to describe it. Superhero actor,
Yeah, I
one
guess
of the
so.
highest paid superhero actors of all time. Because pulling him in, they would have to pay him 3 or 4 times the amount that they would pay a newbie, right, Russ?
Yeah, but also, as I said, this was post Emmerich saying that this guy's finished at Warner Brothers. You know, like they just, because the man had temerity to ask for creative control over his project, which in that climate, as we said before on here, you can see why he did. Oh, this is interesting. Just a Brown Girl says Gunn is following the bad robot model. Created character by you gives you a bigger cut of the merch profit. Yeah, but I don't know. Would that apply to Superman? He's very
Yes.
much a Warner Brothers
It would
thing.
for a newer person who's never played it and they're taking a chance on them. There's no guarantee that the new person is going to be as appealing as Cavill. There's no
No,
guarantee of
but I'm talking about the merch profits. I don't know how that would work.
the different suit. It has to be 25% different
Mm.
or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But oh, Mario is saying that it's 2-1, minute 79. Is it 90-minute game, Russ?
Unless they equalize, in which case it'll go on for another half hour.
I do too, Mikey Lito. I'll watch him 100 times, especially when he's on that oil rig or offshore rig or the deadliest catch part. I just love all that. Just a Brown Girl, it's great to have you here. Yes. To be honest with you, I just kind of think that they're making a big mistake here, but there's nothing to be done about it. Oh my goodness, this is progressing quite quickly.
Shit.
You. Oh, okay, Nathan, you don't want to see him back. Okay. And it says he was offered cameos for Black Adam in The Flash. If he was offered a new contract, Warner Brothers would have made it official. Well, you know something, Nathan, we're not arguing about a contract. I know you want to talk about a contract, but we're not. He showed up
Well,
in a film as
we can put it to bed.
Superman.
He didn't have a contract because there was no films. There was nothing to sign him up for. He signed a
Well,
contract
he
to
did show
appear
up
in
in a
that.
film as Superman, Nathan. So he played Superman this year, Nathan. There is no other actor playing that role. So if you can look at it from that perspective, that's what we're looking at, Nathan. We certainly are not going to, it's pointless to talk about contracts. Nathan, he was in a major motion picture as Superman. There was no one else playing that role. So the person who we are expecting to continue to play that role is the guy who played it the last time this year.
Yeah, when he
That's
got a
what we're
studio
looking at.
mandated announcement to come out and say, yes, it's true, I'm back. Like he
Yes.
could not have said this without the go ahead from the studio. Did he have
Yeah.
a contract for Superman 2? No, because there
But
was no Superman 2, because Superman 2 in itself, all films become like a limited company on their own so they can
yes.
steal
And
money off the writer.
I think you're right, Russ, when we're talking about the idea of how come he appeared in the Black Adam film. And there was a lot of excitement when they thought that he might be appearing at San Diego Comic-Con.
Mhm.
And then when everybody found out he was in Black Adam, I'm sure it bolstered more people to see Black Adam. He certainly has that power to do that.
Look, man, I'm English, and this is a British cinema, and people were cheering. And that
Yeah.
it just never happens in England. Like, I've been to an American cinema and people get into it and they're shouting and clapping and quoting and
Yes.
shouting at the screen and all that.
Just think about it. The studio doesn't have to put him in there, but they chose to do that. No one forced the studio to put Henry Cavill in as Superman this year in a major motion picture. So that's something to think about. It contradicts the idea that the studio didn't want him. It's a contradiction. You don't put someone in a motion picture that you can remove in a second unless you actually want them to be there. No one snuck Henry Cavill in as Superman in that film, just to clarify that, everybody. We've
And The Rock
seen
was big
him.
on it as well. I mean, but I'm talking about the general audience not giving a shit and everything like that. But actually, The Rock was all in on it. He was
Oh,
all in,
yes.
all over social media, sort of saying, yeah, but I'm the most unstoppable force in the planet, but the most unstoppable force in the universe, with his eyebrow and, and all that stuff. But yeah, he was all in. So
Yes, and like I said, no one forced a major motion studio to put Cavill in at the end. No one was forced to do that. They decided to do that. Cavill didn't force them to do that, and neither did, I'm sorry, The Rock. That was the studio's decision to put him in as Superman. So he is our current Superman until they say no, right, Russ? If you show up in a film as Superman, in 2022, you're Superman.
Well, when you come out and say that you are having, the studio said to you, "Yeah,
Well,
okay,
both,
make the
both.
announcement," right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Both.
I can see the point. There was no contract in place for him beyond that because there was no film beyond that. So you can't have
Mhm.
him sign up. Well, we're going to make 75 movies, and you have to sign up. Well, we're going to make one movie, and you're going to have to sign. It's like anything. These things take time. It's like boxing. From when you're arranging a big boxing match between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, you can't do it in 2 weeks. There's all sorts of shit that has to happen between now and then. But a mandated announcement, the actor himself coming out and saying, "Yes, it's true, I'm back," and doing the fucking press circuit and all of that, sitting down with that fellow in New York, doing a whole big thing about being Superman, how much he loves the character. It was nailed on right up
And
until the point when it wasn't.
and from what I understand, there was some sort of contractual obligation with him appearing in the Black Adam film. Like it counts as him being in a film.
Mm.
So that was actually in one of his contracts, from what I have read, from what I've
Oh,
been
so you're
told.
saying the Black Adam appearance then fulfilled his contractual obligation as per his
That's what
number of
they were
appearances?
saying, that even him just appearing for 5 minutes was as if he was in the film. It didn't matter whether it was, 50 minutes or 5 minutes. He appeared in the film, and he's contractually obligated at a certain point to appear in a film. So this could be kind of like a situation where they knew they wanted him in there, but they didn't want to keep him on longer. And so they have him in this film at the end, and then they've met that obligation. The television appearance may not fulfill that obligation because it's a television appearance and not a film. There's all sorts of ways to look at this from a certain perspective. I don't know if that was their intention, but that's what happened, right, Russ? I'm not saying that that's their intention. The studio's intention may not have been that, but what we witnessed was Henry Cavill returning as Superman in a major motion picture.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's probably behind the scenes machinations. This could be a sort of power play to get rid of the Rock, and Henry Cavill's a, 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 a casualty of that particular thing. Like if you're James Gunn, you don't want the Rock in your office giving his opinion about shit. You really don't. I mean, if there's one person that sort of knows these characters and knows how to write a comic book story, it's James Gunn. And I'm sure his Superman film, well, you've got to hope his Superman film is done with the proper reverence and the proper tone. It's all about tone, isn't it? You
Well,
know,
what if it turns out to be like Guardians of the Galaxy? That's not exactly the type of tone I'd want to see in Superman. But I do want to say hello to Beta Ray Bill, excuse me, girl, Beta Ray Bill. Hey, Beta Ray Bill.
hey,
Thanks to YouTube, I'm stuck in my Corbinite form for the present. Welcome to Sunday Brunch, and as well as Chronicles. Hello, Chronicles. Says I'll back whatever he does next to the hilt on principle. Now, do you mean Cavill or do you mean Gunn? I'm fine. I'll back both of them. Gunn is going to make decisions, and he can make whatever decisions he wants to. But honestly, I really would have liked Cavill to make another film other than just the one we saw him in this year.
I'm all in if they're all in. That's all I'm saying. So if they're true to their word and this is a total reboot and a total wiping the slate clean, I'm there. I'll be supportive with it because I can see why they've done it. It's not like um well, it's not like James Gunn has gone, oh, F everybody else, and I'm just going to do this and to spite everybody, blah, blah, blah. And, F you, Zack Snyder, and F you, Henry,
Mhm.
that doesn't smack me as that sort of thing, right?
Exactly. And Nathan,
Unless, unless he keeps Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. And I'm talking post 2023. Okay. So,
yes.
yes, I'm saying, okay, fine. Have Peacemaker season 2, that's probably already started, and it's not going to affect the DCU going forward. But if you go forward with that, then everything all the haters are saying about you for me is 100% true, and I'm out.
Hmm.
I don't care anymore
Yes.
because you have insulted me and every other fan that supported this shit show, and a lot of it has been shit. We've kept going with it. We've kept fighting for it. And you're just like, nah, 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 nah. Fuck you guys. But oh no, here's my toys. I like my toys. I'm keeping them. You've got the power to do that. That's fine. But don't expect me to back you. I'm not going to.
Exactly. So Nathan, I do want to ask you, Nathan, what did you think about Cavill in Black Adam? Um, did you what did you think about his appearance in that film? I was just kind of curious. Because here it says he was offered cameos for Black Adam, but he did appear in that film. What did you think about it, Nathan? Do you think it's weird that he was in that film? Because like I said, they put him in there. So it is confusing, is it not? Let us know what you think, Nathan. Also, what else? Who else do we have? Yes, he was in there for 7 seconds. It's confusing, right? Why have him in the film if you don't want him there?
Well, I think they did. I think that was the plan, and for whatever reason, the plan was nixed. And I think you may well be right. This could be behind the scenes machinations. I think probably between The Rock and James Gunn, because you've been working on this plan for like such a long time, and now all of a sudden it's Superman Year 2. No, that was never no, because you would have come out initially and just said, look, especially one of the things you do have to give Gunn props for actually is being pretty honest on Twitter right up until this sort of Cavill thing. So it may even have been, I don't know. It just seems very, very suddenly.
Well, this is something to think about, and this is why people are feeling the way they are, and why I'm still in denial about all this, because they implied that this is what was going to happen. We had him, he played the last Superman.
Hmm.
And, we know that this was kind of, it feels very disingenuous on the studio side. That's what it feels like. And the fact that he's been kind of been misled or kept in the dark about all this time has also felt very disingenuous. In fact, the thing that would have made Peacemaker perfect is if he had appeared at the end, but they had to have him in the dark. It was weird, right? Why
Yeah,
would you have
that's because of
Superman?
Emmerich. That's nothing to do with James Gunn. Even I'm sure he would have loved Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill and everybody to have been in there, but Emmerich was like, no, Cavill. Cavill's done, and that's
Yeah,
why we didn't see Superman for so many years. Not because of Zack Snyder or James Gunn or any.
exactly.
Ultimately, all these people are reporting to the studio, and the studio heads, what they say goes. And you as a director, producer, writer, you can't say, actually, no, I'm not having that, because it's not your money, it's not your decision.
Exactly. And Michaelito says Messi scored on a penalty. Not currently, but earlier. So Russ is probably right. The fix is in. Oh
Well, the
man.
referee will do everything he can. I mean, you can't fix it totally. If France score a blinder, then so on. But I imagine France won't be getting much in the way of free kicks and all the rest of it. And I imagine, given Argentina's track record for cheating and diving, I'm sure that they'll be throwing themselves around the pitch like they've been shot by fucking Chuck Norris with a sniper rifle. I hope they lose.
Okay. Well, Michaelito says, look, this is simple. Cavill is a big buff dude, and RM and I wanted him as Superman, and that's that. Let us grieve and watch Enola Holmes movies.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
he makes a good point, right? Because we never thought we'd find anybody to replace Christopher Reeves, right? And then they pulled out Brandon Routh, and he was pretty good, and I quite like that movie. And lots of people complained about that movie because it was too much, too much of a homage to Richard Donner and all the rest of it. And everybody complained that there was no fights and no action. And then Zack Snyder comes out and gives you everything that you want. Oh no, Superman wouldn't do that. But they found Brandon Routh, and then they found Henry Cavill, and I'm quite sure they will find some relatively unknown chap that will completely embody the character that they want him to portray. No
he's
one
going
will
to be
ever be
different.
happy because it won't be Superman as they have him in their head. And I think maybe that's where Christopher Reeves does kind of win, if you like. He is the Superman that most people have in their head. But I'm sure they'll do a great job. They know what they're doing. And all these people will come out and go, oh no, it's terrible. And who is this guy? And he's crap and he's too skinny and and he's got blonde hair or whatever it happens to be. Just like they did when Ben Affleck took over as Batman, just like they did when Heath Ledger took over as the Joker, just like they did when Michael, the guy from Mr. Mum, whatever the show he was in was Batman, and
Mhm.
they all smashed it out of the park. Why? Because they're all good actors and they can do it.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%, Mike Alito. Certainly that is something to think about, and it's true. Darth Player wanted to know, was Gunn hired before or after Cavill's statement? Yeah, this is tough,
He was hired in
Darth Plato. I
November,
don't
wasn't he?
I don't know the exact date. It's quite a mystery. We don't know. I don't know the exact hiring date. It is in that time range. Unfortunately, Darth Plato, that I have a feeling they were in talks with Gunn, and then things changed dramatically. It's something to think about. Retro Nerd Girl says, I also thought Black Adam was really entertaining. Yeah, I loved Black Adam. I'm surprised that it didn't do well at the box office. What a shame that it's one and done. Yeah, agreed.
I just think Black Adam was one of those ones where they just played it. It was just a little bit too safe. It was just played a little bit too safe, and there was a hell of a lot more in that movie that we didn't see because you saw more of it in the trailer, right? You know, when he smashes the planes up and all that kind of thing. You know, there was a hell of a lot going on in there. It was probably way hella violent. You know, it was probably an R-rated movie pre cuts, and they were probably hoping to release the director's cut on video like they always do, and it'll be a million times better, and everyone would have said, why didn't you release this in the cinema? I would have gone and seen that. But yeah, it was all right. Black Adam was very much an all right experience, but there was nothing to really talk about after that movie apart from the cameo. But the Black Adam itself was kind of okay.
Well,
It was
I
just a
liked
little bit
The
too safe.
Rock. I don't know how you guys feel, but I also like The Rock. So maybe Retro Nerd Girl agrees with me. I thought he looked great in this film, and I thought that Pierce Brosnan looked great in the film, and the other guy looked great in the film. I thought it was filled with some really good-looking
Hawkman was
men.
fucking brilliant in that film. Actually, I really liked him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great, display of male bravado. That's how I'm going to put it. And also, yeah, I agree, Nathan. I think he's going to write a great script. There's no doubt
And I
about
hope
that.
he does. I hope he does.
But it will be a different Superman. He's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same feel as what we've been seeing so far. This is going to be very
No.
different. It's going to be brand new, a new chapter.
Is it though, or is it harkening back to this sort of Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh thing? You know, and I think that is a bad call in 2023. Maybe it was the right call in 2013, but now I just don't think that apple pie, you know, I just don't think that classical take will. I fucking hope I'm wrong. All I want is a good Superman movie, right?
Absolutely. Mario says, I fell for it. Gary Bando Sanders says tricked. I fell for it too. That's why I will not support. Mario, though, don't miss out on it just because they have a different type of story. It might be good, Mario.
It might be good, but as I say, that I have a red line. My red line is if you decide you're going to keep the Suicide Squad and kill everything else, then I'm with Mario. I'll get it on Blu-ray when it comes out. I'm not rushing off to the cinema. I'm certainly not buying it twice. Certainly not going to go and see it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times like I did with Man of Steel and BVS and all of that stuff. Because why would I? You've just stuck a stick in my eye, and to a massive. Everyone says about the Snyder Bros that it's like a tiny minority of the fandom. It is not a tiny minority of the fandom, and I'll tell you why it's not a tiny minority of the fandom, because that tiny minority managed to get Warner Brothers to cough up $70 million to finish a film. Now you can say, oh yeah, because of HBO Max, but they would never have done it unless this tiny minority had been so vocal and so supportive over a period of 4 years or 3 years, however long it took, from 2017 to 2020. They kept going and going and going. So it's not a small percentage of the fandom, although this fandom is a small percentage of the general audience, but they will turn their back on it if he does that. I'm pretty much sure, because I'm fairly moderate and I'm really cross it. I will be furious, if that's the road that they go down.
Yes. You better, Mom? Okay, she's better.
Help me, please.
It's so sad. James Gunn, Michael Lito says James Gunn is one bad property from being Taika Waititi. Ouch.
Did you see the bear?
My mother thinks there's a bear in this room. No, there's no bear. You're safe.
What is it?
It's just you're scared.
My Brazil?
You're upset because Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore.
Is
No.
it? Why?
Because James Gunn's an asshole.
She's so upset about it.
Yeah.
What? What is it now?
Okay, Mom, I'm on the air. I'll speak to you later, okay?
Okay.
I love you. Um, all right. You know, it is very debateful, Darth Plato, about whether he was told the truth or not. But, you know, if you appear as a character in a film, what we're saying is if you appear as a character in a film in 2022, you're kind of expecting to still be that character. I mean, you know, it was looked at as favorable. So that's something to think
Yeah,
about.
I agree with Darth Plato. I don't think that,
Aw, we're
that
not, Nathan. We're not upset.
you know, I'm sure Henry Cavill thought, I'm sure the studio thought that this
Yeah.
seems to have come about very, very suddenly. I'll give
Yeah.
it that. You know, it doesn't. It seems to have been a decision that's been made for another reason,
Yeah.
not, oh no, we're going to have to cast younger. It must be
Yeah,
more to it than
it doesn't
that.
ring true.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
now.
ring
Now
true.
that we're thinking about it, and you know, and you know, I'm the font of all of my own wisdom, right? You know, as we're theorizing, I'm beginning to talk myself into. Uh, this must be to do with The Rock. There must have, because of course he's just now gone and unfollowed Warner Brothers and unfollowed DC and all that stuff. That's apparently news now. So I maybe there was a clash between him and Gunn and Safran, and they know that if Cavill's part of it, then Rock's part of it, then and they're dragging all of that stuff with them, and maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah. And I do want to respond to Nathan's comment. Remember, Nathan, I'm still in denial. For me, this is the end has not happened yet. I'm still in the denial phase, Nathan. I know he said that it's over, but I'm like, no, it's not. So I'm still in denial. I haven't fully accepted what is happening. So there is that. So
But
I'm
there's lots of
leaving.
talk, isn't there, that you know, Gunn came out and said, "No, we had a brilliant meeting with Henry Cavill, and you know, we're talking about lots of exciting projects in the future." And everyone's going to be like, "Who's he going to be cast as? Who's he going to be in the new DCEU?" I hope nobody. And I think rather with Cavill and certainly with Ben Affleck, who's also back, that these will be behind the camera roles. Like Cavill sort of said he wants to direct, right? So maybe that's what they're talking about down the road, or maybe he's going to be a producer on the new Superman movie and oversee it,
Yeah,
or
what if
what.
he did direct the new one? Wouldn't that be funny?
That'd be awesome.
Oh
But
my
he's now
God.
signed up with Amazon, hasn't he? Anyway, to do a passion project with them with his Warhammer 40K. So no, I think it's also nobody's crying for Henry Cavill in financially or anything like that. We're
No,
crying for
no.
ourselves because we were promised something and something we'd waited for years and years and years, only to have it ripped away. It's a kick in the bollocks, is what it is.
Yes, absolutely. Darth Plato says Russ is not smelling what the Rock is cooking.
Mhm.
And it says that, and now someone from the Richard Show is attacking. I heard something about that. They probably really want him back. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think anybody would want to let go of him. So yeah, it is kind of silly. He still has so many people wanting to work with him. Um, okay. And Nathan says, I think Snyder did wrong to Cavill, but not making better movies. Okay, hides under the covers from Snyder. Oh, no,
You know, I
no.
saw a comment about this on
Aw.
Reddit the other day, and it was quite interesting. It was from a person who said, I really didn't like the Zack Snyder movies, but I'm a little bit fed up of this. Anytime somebody says anything positive about Snyder, that instantly everybody on the Reddit thread just dog piles and go, "Oh, you're a Snyder bro, Snyder fan, Snyder." It's not like that. Like everybody that watches those films accepts that they're not perfect.
Yeah,
They're not.
yeah.
But how much of them are not perfect comes from how much studio tinkering. Well, we all know what happened with those movies. So those movies were
It was such a weird situation. There was definitely interference.
100%. Well, we know. We literally, you've got the evidence of your own eyes when you watch the ultimate cut of BVS versus the theatrical cut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
greed. Because why do you cut out half an hour from the film? Oh, so you can get more showings in during the day, and you sort of ruin the narrative cohesion. So that whole, of course, films are there to make money, but those people that were in charge of it just desperate for bonuses and desperate for bums on seats and all that kind of thing, not thinking for a minute, hold a minute, if we make these films as good as they can be, then people will come back and watch them again, won't they? But they didn't. So yeah.
Yeah, it was too bad that it ended up that way. And that is something that I think, if things had been different, what a different outcome that could have been. Um, yeah. So this is it's something to think about. Here it says, as a real fan, I'm angry, and it's a big con on
It
fans.
feels like
Yeah.
it. It feels like it. And I think, like I've said, look, let's hope it's brilliant. I can understand why the decisions are being made. I think that there's a lot of baggage. Okay, so let's take it. This is, and I'll take my sort of Snyder fan hat off. There's a lot of baggage there. The films didn't make as much money as the studio wanted them to make. You would say that they are divisive, uh, and there's baggage. And I think that big form of that bag. And the more I talk about this, the more I think about this, the more I think I might be right on this. I think the most of that baggage is The Rock and the amount of control he had and wanted to have, because he was really setting himself up as the hierarchy of power in the DCU. And then you've got DC Studios now, and you've got these guys that want to be in charge and want to set out their vision, kind of knowing that The Rock sees himself as the main person in the DCU, the big bad, and all that kind of thing. I remember they just thought, we can't be tied to this. Everything
Yeah.
has to go.
And Mario says, I like Gunn, but he's in a very difficult situation. Now, Nathan, this is kind of a good point. He says he thought the cameo was a waste of time, 7 seconds of nothing. I would have liked to have seen a fight. I don't know about you guys, but I would have liked to have seen some kind of fight between Black Adam and Superman, or something significant happen, rather than there is someone else. Here he is in a movie. So that's something very interesting, and would have been quite phenomenal, Russ. Maybe made Black Adam even better, Russ, if somehow Superman was able. I don't know. I can't even write this. I don't know the lore between
I
the two.
think it was fine. I just think this was the announcement that Cavill's back, and that's all it needed to be. I think anything else would have detracted from what is essentially a vehicle for The Rock to introduce a new character and a new set of sub characters to the DC universe that were not Wonder Woman and all of those guys. This was going to be running parallel to the main stories. I imagine it would eventually coalesce. So you'd have the Justice Society, Shazam, and Black Adam in one corner, and Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, and all the rest in the other. And I imagine they would have coalesced eventually into a big knockdown, drag out fight between Superman and Black Adam. So for me, 7 seconds was fine. We just needed to see it. We needed the confirmation that he's back, and thank God.
Well, that would have been interesting to see a second film, which they could have done this year, even,
Mhm.
of the confrontation of the two of them. That would have been interesting.
Well,
And
I
I
think The
think
Rock was against that, wasn't he? He was saying this is something we're going to build up to. We're not going to do it in the next movie. It's just, forget that. It's not happening in Black Adam 2. It's not happening in Shazam 3. This is a process of these characters will be circling each other around the DC universe for a while before they, eventually collide, which
yes,
I
and
thought was smart.
Tom Jr. Jackson says, I hear that Cavill left The Witcher because the writers were not respecting the property. And I think that is why, going forward with Warhammer, Cavill is going to make sure whomever does it knows it well. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This is a good
There's a lot
point.
to know about that. It's a massive universe, massive mythology behind that, and I'm not familiar with it much myself.
I'm not that familiar with The Witcher other than the game.
So
And
I was talking about Warhammer.
oh, yes, yes. And for Warhammer, my best friend is huge into he likes the game, but he's more into making the models. There's a whole bunch of people who make these models from Warhammer. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they
Mhm.
make models, like these little models and figurines.
Yeah,
And
my friend Jamie used to work at Games Workshop, and he was hugely into it. Yeah, but the mythology and the lore behind it as well is just intense.
yeah, and Nathan says, I'm glad that Cavill has the Warhammer project in the works. He will land on his feet at the end of the day. Yeah, and they call it, it's Warhammer 40,000, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Warhammer 40K as it's abbreviated, I think.
Yeah. And so guys, yeah, me too. Me too, Tom. Um, yeah, I'm upset too. But I'm still in denial. I'm gonna be in denial until the new Superman comes out. Because the way things have been going, Russ, I don't know whether I trust any of this stuff anymore. Um, so
Well,
Oh,
that's one
James.
thing about Gunn, isn't it? You know, you can trust what he's saying. He has come out and sort of, well, by and large, I mean, it's not a lie. You know, he does like Henry Cavill, but that wasn't the question that was being asked of him. But other than that, he's been a pretty straight arrow when it's come to sort of debunking things and being fair, as honest as he can be at this moment in time.
He hasn't he hasn't completely said that he would never work with Cavill again in the future. So
Mm.
there is that, guys. Jamin D says, just wondering if you see Cavill's Highlander or World War II movie being released along with WBDC being released this. I have a feeling that Cavill's films will be made sooner than anything we're getting from Gunn. What about you, Russ?
Yeah, I tend to agree. What would I go and see? Depends on what happens with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. As I said, I'm fully in. I love Superman as a character. Cavill himself said that. They'd probably all be in the cinema. I'd probably all go and watch them all. I'd have a day at the cinema. How about that? But yeah, Superman would be my first choice. You know,
But
I think it.
Cavill's films are going to come out before that, right,
Oh yeah,
Russ?
they will. I think he's just been hypothetical. He's putting you in like a sort of no-win situation. What one would you go and see? Would you pick Henry Cavill or would you pick Superman? You know, where do your loyalties lie? I think that's what's being asked there.
Yes, you're right, Mario. He is a secondary character in the Enola movies, but he's more of a primary in the second film. Mario, more of a primary in the second film. Yes, yes, it is true. It is emotional, right, Nathan? It's it is emotional. I want Cavill back. So
Mm,
yeah,
so say
yeah.
we all.
Yeah, and I kind of didn't get a chance to ask everybody, but I did want to know some fan casts if you guys have someone in mind who you think could play the role. Um,
I've
you
seen a
know,
billion of these on Reddit, and everyone's saying the guy that played him in Peacemaker is up for it. But
in Peacemaker. Oh, you
yeah,
mean we
David
didn't see his
Cornsweet or
face.
something like that. You wouldn't see his face, but he looks just like Superman.
What about the guy
Um,
who plays him in Titans, who plays is it Superboy or what?
he's also been thrown up, and you can throw up anybody that you want, and it'll be nobody that anybody thinks of or knows, and that's how you have to do Superman. So they
Yes.
need to spend the next 2 years finding the perfect guy. I mean, Brian Singer took God knows how long finding Brandon Routh because he had, I want Christopher Reeves. I want Christopher Reeves. How am I going to bring Christopher Reeves back? And he found him eventually. And this will be an intense casting search for the next Superman. Because here's the thing, Bucko. If you're going to come in and make all of these sweeping changes, and if you're going to come in and get rid of the Wonder Woman that everybody loves, and the Batman that everybody loves, and the Superman certainly that everybody loves, you better fucking nail it. Because if you don't nail Superman in every single way, shape, and form, I'm talking actor, character, tone, screenplay, soundtrack, outfit, the lot, everything has to be perfect. Because if you don't, you're done, and they will be finished. The pair of them, if they drop the ball on this one, no one will trust them.
Yeah, this
So
is a
the pressure
very
is immense.
it's very critical. We're at a very critical statement. Yeah.
Oh, is it two
Um,
two, Gal? Must be
I
two
have
two.
no idea. Is it
Must be. If they're going into extra time, then it'll be yeah.
and let's see. Um okay, let's see. The Rock should okay. um what does this mean? Watching here and soccer TV. Oh yes, best Sunday this year. All right. Russ. Oh, I wasn't expecting Scotty R37 to show up.
Hey,
Hi,
Scotty.
Scotty. How are you today? Good to see you. We're just about to wrap up the show today. Yeah, it's
Oh, someone's got a brilliant handle there. Arse gravy. I've never seen arse gravy in here before. That's fucking
ooh,
brilliant.
aw, aw. Thank you, Nathan. She gets scared sometimes. So yeah, there is. She really thinks there's a bear. She thinks there's a bear. She thinks there's a squirrel bothering her feet. So, and I have to tell her, no, there is not a squirrel there. You're fine. I love you. So there is that. So thanks for understanding. Yes, she is. So, I will tell her that, Nathan. Yeah, she's sweet. Um, Bonzo did hi. Thank you so much, Bonzo Kilburn. Thank you for the compliment. I so appreciate that. Guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, guys. This is the week for me leading up to Christmas. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to be doing my show, Ladies of the PGS, on the Burr Network. I'm going to be traveling tomorrow, so I'm hoping I can keep to the schedule. But I'm just reminding you all to please check out Ladies of the PGS, where we're still going to be processing our feelings. Retro Nerd Girl, I'm still processing my feelings as well. That's the only way. I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I'm towards the end of the denial phase, Retro Nerd Girl. She says, although I am happy he's found a new project at Amazon, I want to see Cavill in the theaters. Yes, I want to see him on the big screen. He's making a movie, something about ungentlemanly fighting or something.
Yeah, it's about the Special Operations Executive, which was the precursor to our MI5 and MI6, kind of like the British NSA or CIA or something like that. Basically, the beginning of our spy service, and when we started getting involved in SAS operations and fighting wars in a dirty way.
And Jamin D says, like any other actor, I guess, or sorry, I think like any actor, he will be okay. We are getting too emotional over this, in my humble opinion. But I did get upset as a kid when I saw Roger Moore suddenly as James Bond for the first time. Really? Sean Connery was always James Bond for me. So who am I to say what people should feel or not feel?
I just think, Jamin, it's just because we were all progressing up until the beginning of this week with the safe in the knowledge that Henry Cavill was back as Superman from the man's own mouth in a studio mandated statement. And there'd been no indication. Gunn had been called out on Twitter. Somebody says, you don't like Henry Cavill. Is that, he cared to comment on that? He said, yeah, absolutely false. So as far as we were all concerned, the beloved Superman that we'd all wanted was coming back. And now we've just been kicked in the bollocks. And it's made a lot of people angry. It's certainly made a lot of people upset. But as I think everybody can agree, everybody understands why they've done it. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did, Mario.
Yes. And Beta Ray Bill says, want to see him get better? Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think they could probably make another one and it will actually get better. So it's something to think about.
I think he's gone. I mean, RM, I think he's gone. I think that's it. It's a one and done for Dwayne. He's publicly unfollowed them. So there was probably a meeting, and I think that's when this decision was made. And I've only come to that idea since I started talking to you about it, but I think that's very much it.
Well, we are going to wrap up the show, and I do want to say again for Avatar 2, please go see that. I think you guys will like it. And yes, Mikey Leo, it is the same story. Certainly going to acknowledge that. And Spider is a character played by Jack Champion, who is such a fantastic young actor. I don't think he could play. He's still young. He's way too young to play any other roles right now, but he's going to be a big star. I feel like he's the breakout star. I want to thank everybody for stopping by for Sunday Brunch today, including Tom Jr. Jackson, who is We Are All Good People moderator and collaborator. Russ, where can people find you?
You can find me here or at my website, which is 1,000 years out of date, at russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can people find you, RM?
Of course, you guys can find me here on Positive Fandom. So do like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everybody who stopped by, shared your opinions, showed support. Certainly, we had a lot to talk about today, and this
waving at Joe Tyson. I didn't see him earlier. All right, Big Joe.
Oh,
Sorry,
yes.
carry on.
And Jim Korea is here. Hi, Jim Korea. How are you? So good to see you. I haven't spoken to you for a while. I hope you have a good holiday. We're wrapping up the show. He says, agreed, if Cavill's gone, Suicide Squad and wife must be too. Interesting. Just so appreciative of all of you who came by, stopped by this week. Jamin D says his last comment here, I don't mind afterwards, just a kid. I didn't know they could just swap actors for the same character. Yeah, something to think about going forward. We know there's going to be a new one, but this one kind of threw many of us for a loop. So I did just want to say you can also find me on the Burn Network on Mondays at 6 p.m. for my show, Ladies of the PGS. On Monday, I should be streaming with Lorena, but I have some other Ladies of the PGS episodes that you're going to see interviews and special reports coming up too. So there is that coming up, as well as you can see me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. And so that's coming up, as well as Midnight Musings with Robert. So guys, you are all the best. I've had such a wonderful time streaming with you all. And Russ and I are going to figure out whether we're streaming next week. But I did just want to say, no matter what, on behalf of everybody here, thank you for the support this past year, Russ. It's been almost a year since we've been doing this show.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I think we started in January of last year. But guys, have a happy holiday. Have a happy holiday to all of you. Thank you so much for stopping by. And I just hope you all have a wonderful and, safe holiday season. And, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Tom and Russ, guys, always do remember to please be kind. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas,
And
guys. Hopefully see you next week.
absolutely. Take care, everybody. Bye.